I'm Tony Bannon, the Ron and Donna Fielding Director at George Eastman House, and we have organized, in partnership with Eastman Kodak Company, a week on photography at the Chautauqua Institution. The Chautauqua Institution is an upstate location for the arts, for culture, for intellectual stimulation, for sports. It's a summer camp for adults, as well as a resort, as well as a retreat center. It functions in so many different ways. Indeed, there's nothing quite like it in the world. So we found that it was the ideal site to examine photography in our time. Steve McCurry led off the week in spectacular form. And we had an opportunity to chat with him. Steve, you studied the history of the world and cinematography at Pennsylvania State University. Then you went to work at Today's Post in the King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. A year later, your photograph from Afghanistan was on the front page of the New York Times. A year after that, your work was featured in National Geographic and Time magazine. How in the world did you pull that off? From the King of Prussia to the cover of Time magazine in less than a couple of years?
I think it was just partly really hard work and partly luck. Hard work in the sense that I went to India for 2 years without coming home. I stayed there and kind of doggedly pursued putting together a portfolio. I traveled nonstop throughout India. But also, I had a really lucky break in that I was one of the first photographers to go into Afghanistan before the Soviets went in. So I was, as a result of that trip, actually 2 trips in Afghanistan, my work ended up being published virtually all over the world.
Steve, rock and roll music is filled with one-hit wonders, and here it is. You've been hitting it out of the park for decades. How did you do it?
I have a passion and love for my work. I love to travel. I never get tired of going to new places and even places that I've been to India maybe more than 80 times, and I still get excited about going back and photographing new places and going back to old places. So I think it's the enthusiasm, the passion, the obsession with trying to do better and to discover new things that kind of keeps me motivated.
You managed to do a spectacular job year after year, decade after decade, but now in a crowded field with less and less opportunity for distribution, how does a photographer break into the field?
Well, certainly probably the biggest component to that question is just hard work. Often photographers, myself included, will say, well, I can't go to Afghanistan because there's too many photographers there. And I can't go to this place because the field is too crowded with different photographers. My response to that is, but you've never been there. You've never photographed it, So go and do it better, doing it a different way, and make it your own, and join that kind of pantheon of great photographers who have done kind of seminal work on the circuit. So hard work is certainly important, but going along with the same idea that knowing the history of photography and knowing what's gone before and knowing what glorious pictures these photographers have made on every subject, and that even if I've been to Afghanistan 30 years ago plus, but there's still great pictures to be made, and that's an ongoing developing story, and just jump in, don't worry about it, just go.
25 years ago, Steve, you made a picture of an Afghani young woman. She's been with you now for all that time. The picture, indeed, is one of the icons of photography. How did that happen? What's so special about that picture?
the basic answer to that question is the eyes. The eye. It starts with the eyes. She has these amazing, luminous, piercing, just incredible eyes, and it kind of like emits light. But you take that, and she's also very pretty. There's very kind of a sensuality to her face, and there's a real kind of honest quality that it's not a posed picture. She's not, and there's a little bit of a ambiguity. She's not so serious. She's not really smiling. She's not really frowning. It's just, then you have this incredible light, this kind of luminous light, and the color without really. I mean, I think a person looking at the picture doesn't really understand how, the color, the background, the shawl, a little patch of red coming out of her the torn shawl, and then there's this sort of a bit of dirt on her face, which really gives the feeling that she's pretty, she's attractive, she's alert, she has a lot of self-confidence. Perhaps she has a sense of fortitude, but yet she's clearly poor. This is a poor little girl. She has dirt on her face and this rip on her shawl. So there's this all these elements together create this amazing portrait, which is in a way haunting, or perhaps she has this sort of look which is sort of very almost like she's looking right through you in a way.
How do you achieve this very special relationship with your subject? It's evident in the picture that there's a sympathy between the person you photograph and yourself.
Yeah, I think it's very simple for me in that when I see somebody on the street or I meet who I feel has a special quality, a special look, somebody that I just find fascinating and interesting, I think that enthusiasm is they can sense it, they can feel it, and when I ask them if I can photograph them in a very respectful bit of humor, I think that draws them into that process, and they get excited too, as I am, that here's somebody who I was just walking down the street and this random person came out, but they seemed very interested in me, and they're very and then this thing develops, this chemistry, and it can come together within 15 seconds. It can be a very quick. It doesn't have to take hours to develop a rapport with somebody. It can come together very quickly. But it's a question of establishing that trust and having a certain confidence in yourself that you're going to do something that's positive and good karma and all that. And then having them kind of participate in this thing, and I think it's just that simple.